show where we've got devs and they've got insight for you. That's what it says on my sheet, and that's what I'm going to read. As always, we've got our esteemed group of designers here. We've got AJ, Pon, and Clumsy joining us here on the show. Guys, this is going to be one that I think is going to be fun, because a lot of these were received pretty well that we did in the past. If you haven't done a Dev Insight show before, we got to just go over some of the changes that we've made in the past and take a look at how they've affected both the perception of the god, the win rate, the popularity, kind of all the stuff that you would expect to see with all this. But first, let's start with what we're going to look into changing in some of the next updates. We took care of a lot of the meta gods in this last update that just went live today, but as always, we're going to be looking for some of those as well.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's just went live today with a new update, so we have a lot of changes. We're not going to be reviewing that data, of course, because we don't have it yet. You've only been playing with it for a few hours, so
like 2 or 3 hours.
It wouldn't yield very useful information yet.
No.
So a lot of the gods we'll talk about today, they have other changes, or gods we'll talk about today will be from last patch.
Okay.
Some of them even being changed again today. We'll make references to that as we go. And even though we just have things launched today, we don't have data from this patch, we are already still have some rough plans towards the next patch. There's a couple more meta nerfs. It seems like that tends to be one of our most...
People like that.
Yeah.
People like that.
I think the balance team has been doing a fantastic job this year of just really trying to do our best to cater towards the SMITE community. Make sure the game feels fair in as many ways as possible. So, the meta nerf section. So, who do we have on the table for meta nerf coming up in the next update show?
So coming on the next update show, we got a couple meta nerfs. Jormungandr, Quang, Neja, Hebois, all, seeing a lot of popularity in different levels of play between the SPL. I mean, honestly, I was pretty astounded at the fact that Jormungandr was being played on the SPL and SML and in mid lane. I mean, Zeros are pretty crazy. We've seen some much success. That was even before his recent buffs from the last patch.
We'll see
which we'll go on to talk about.
We'll see Yorm's stats today.
Yes.
But we still are, he was buffed recently. And we'll see the results of that. But we do anticipate that he will need a little nerf in the future, so we're keeping an eye on him. Quang is another one on our list. This seems to be like the ranked champion.
Yeah,
god.
this is doing really
like
well.
the most banned god in ranked.
That was even before his passive changes. He was always steadily creeping up, and now he's really up there.
That is true. Even before we reworked his passive, the god was a sleeper OP.
Yes.
And we were trying to redesign this passive in a way that was not too much of a buff, but he's still sleeper OP. But people are starting to catch on now. So we're gonna be addressing that. Hebo is the other one as far as meta nerfs go. Or Habwa. All right, whatever. I can't say it like that. I've been calling him Hebo since closed beta. I can't change how it's
I just like messing with people.
So he's an interesting one because we see the community gonna go back and forth on Hebo. A lot of people, he kind of struggled to find his role, and a lot of people that counted against him. But the god is wildly powerful. I think everybody is kind of starting to agree on that, right?
Yeah, you're really seeing it in Pro League games.
So he's going to be the last meta nerf. We listed also Neja. He doesn't really fall into the meta nerfs. Neja is getting the Project Olympus treatment.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
So he's not a meta nerf. He's going to get a lot of bug fixes, some adjustments,
that was the last one on the list, right? We had Jing Chen, we had Kukulin, and Neja was the third one on the Reddit thread.
Then we'll probably, Travis will already be planning for the next pass of those gods. We want to continue fixing bugs. It's a huge priority for us. So Neja is getting that big update next patch.
Beautiful. Okay, and then we also will have some Horus and Set balance for the first time. First big balance pass, I would say, for these gods in the next update.
So what did we do today?
So today was largely bug fixes. Horus and Set got a significant amount of bug fixes or quality of life things. For example, Set players today will probably experience being able to see the clone through walls, being able to teleport to them more easily. And so we wanted to address all those things first before we really took a stab at properly balancing them. They are on the weaker end, but we expected with those bug fixes they will rise up. Horus is probably in a safer spot than Set. Set's probably the more underperforming character, and so we're going to watch this patch data very closely and then see if they need buffs and to what degree. But I would say it's probably more likely that Set's going to get more significant buffs than Horus, but again, we have to wait for the data.
Set also, he's the higher skill cap, higher skill ceiling, so therefore his widely average data might not be as accurate as Horus's, but both of the gods for new god launches are clearly on the lower end of the spectrum.
Yes.
That said, we have a lot of people having fun with them, a lot of people feeling like they have a lot of success, so as normal as the team has learned this year, not to overreact to god launches right away, especially on the lower end, let people learn about them. So we're going to collect a little bit more data, but it's likely we're going to see small buffs to both of those gods, one or both of those gods, in the next update.
Okay, fair enough. We also have a note here that Guardian/Warrior buffs might be on the table just to try and increase some diversity in those classes.
Key thing is looking at diversity. We were really trying to bring back warriors in the solo lane. we did that, but it seems like we've only brought back 1 or 2 at a time.
Yeah.
We want to look at both the support class and the solo class to make sure that there's a little bit of a deeper god pool in higher ranked and in SPL. So we're going to be targeting kind of the lower end statistic performing gods in that scenario.
Okay.
Try to buff those up. We might also be looking at some wider spread item changes to help even those gods out from kind of subclasses. So Berserkers, warriors versus gladiators, shield warriors. Some things like that will be on the radar in the future as well.
Cool. Sounds great. That's all what you can look forward to in the next update show. But again, if you haven't done a Dev Insight before, this is how it works. We're getting into the meat and potatoes now. We're going to take a look at some stats. Exactly. Hope your numbers, people,
fun.
around here. We take a look at the high elo in Conquest only, so Plat plus. So you expect to see the higher end. This is the higher end of our player group.
Right.
And then it's only Conquest. And we just take a look at their win rate in relation to the rest of the cast. So the number one god being the most winningest god in the game, down to 103 now, 102 somewhere
103.
in there. And then mirror matches are excluded
104.
for this. So,
Is set 104? I thought one was 103.
No, 101. No,
Was
100's Merlin. So 101's Jorm. 102
Horse,
is
yeah,
103 is horse.
There you go. We
Right,
have
103.
numbers. We
nailed
figured it out.
Nailed it right away.
Math.
Counting.
And then popularity as well, same sort of stat. You'll get a number that is in relation to the rest of the gods in the cast. So we'll start with King Arthur. He got a nerf last update, shifted the damage on his ultimate to deal less true damage. A lot of this, the feedback on this
Yes.
was, what's up? Because a lot of people thought it was not a nerf. Those
Correct.
people were incorrect.
We will find out today. So perception, we always go through perception, then reality, then evaluate our success out as a balanced team.
Sure.
So this one, perception, not our most successful change as far as perception goes. We did want to affect Arthur in a way that people agreed with. Okay, yeah, we need that. We wanted perception. So we were like, the ultimate damage, let's shift that around so that the true damage is much lower so he can't just shred tanks as well as he was, but we did not succeed as well as we thought on that one. The community, a lot of people even somehow claiming this was a buff. Confused a little bit. It was a lot of numbers. It was a lot of up and downward shifting. We know that can have this effect when it's announced publicly. We were very aware of that, but we did feel like it was the right change to do. So the community still obviously thinking this god is very strong.
Yes.
Top ban rate up there in the top 3 along with Quang and Merlin, so nerfs were necessary. He's already getting another nerf that happened today that is not being accounted for in these stats. So keep in mind when we go now to his stats, we will see that his win rate was actually pretty heavily affected by this.
Yeah, negative 14 change.
And honestly, he was. I'm sure most people are looking at in 78. Even before this change, he was already at 78. So
Very low.
the energy changes and the one damage,
The one damage,
the
yeah.
one damage
Yep.
nerfs from before were very impactful. All of our nerfs to Arthur have been very statistically impactful.
Sure.
All of the community doesn't believe us for 1 second. No one believes us. This is why we have
what the
this
show is
show.
for.
Yeah,
We're trying to help you
Believe us.
understand. So
Look, he is nearly one of the 10 worst gods in the game by win rate.
and he is about to get nerfed again.
Right,
Yes.
and this is again non-mirror matches, high elo only for Conquest.
Thing is though, Arthur has very high skill potential.
Yes.
Very good Arthur players can make this god shine well above this average rank, even with only considering high elos.
Sure.
This god has very specific applications, pros have been able to use well. So he does have one more nerf that's coming that launched today that's addressing his energy gain. We
Yep.
believe that was the #1 complaint. So we'll get to look at this god again in the next Inside Show,
Yeah.
most likely to see where does he finally end up. We try to hyper focus on what the community was asking for. He was ulting too much. We want his energy to still matter for his ult. We didn't want to just slap a cooldown on it and make him like everybody else. That is not our intention from balance, is just to make everyone the same.
Sure.
So although the community was pushing us in that direction, we decided to stick with the energy. We just slowed down his energy gain. That's gonna put him in the bottom 10 gods of the game. But for his
Yes.
level of skill
Right,
and
yeah.
uniqueness, that's probably okay, and he'll probably still be able to perform well in SPL and in ranked,
Yeah.
and for people who really dedicate time to it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was thinking before, for a lot of the gods that we touch upon in this show, sometimes we talk about how they're either too low or too high. We might want to bring them close towards the middle, but King Arthur's not necessarily that case, and you just went on
yeah.
that. And that's important to remember.
One thing we've learned is that being at 50 is not balanced for everybody.
Right.
Some gods feel inherently balanced at a lower, and et cetera. So, Arthur, we're happy to push one more time. We hope the community feels like this is the right change in the right direction, and hopefully after this change that ships today, he won't see any more balance for a little while.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. Jormungandr, the next one up on the list, he got increased basic attack damage, and we allowed him to refire Consuming Bellow if it's interrupted, but removed the mitigations during that channel. Yorm is a god that you know, from my perspective at least, on the pro scene, I mean, we see this god all the time now at a competitive level. But as you mentioned, Clumsy, in different roles. I mean,
very surprising to me.
In mid, sometimes in solo, sometimes in support.
I believe we saw him a lot in the SPL even before we did this change where he was allowed to be stunned in his second ability, and we were surprised that he was seeing so much play at that point.
So Jorm continues to be really, really popular, which is great. He is like, everybody is loving him, everybody's having fun. No one is banning him. So he is not so strong that anyone wants to spend a ban on him. I mean, possibly it's just because they still perceive, you know, like the must-ban characters, even though they've all of the must-ban characters have been nerfed heavily recently. So we thought Jorm was going to start getting more of that ban share. Didn't happen. Even throughout this entire patch where he was buffed, very high play rate, very low ban rate. I mean, and when I'm talking very low, it's like maybe top 20 or something like that. But that's about where you barely notice it because that's banned one every 10 games or something that you notice. So he's strong, but doesn't seem to be frustratingly strong, which is great. However, we still see how flexible he is in his applications in Pro League. So we're gonna look at him for a small nerf, most likely next patch. But as you can see now, his win rate, he went up quite a bit. Look, and a lot of people when we buffed him said there's no reason to buff this god. There's no need to. He was a 73rd. That's not great.
Right.
And the god's not particularly hard to play. I wouldn't say this is the same example as Arthur, where he feels balanced at a very low win rate.
Sure. I mean, with that passive, he's definitely got a lot of opportunity to stay alive.
Yes.
So, I mean, his ultimate is very strong and can bail you out if you make a mistake. That's one thing that makes this god a little bit more new player friendly. But overall, he needed some buffs. We gave it to him. He increased about the level we hoped. His popularity still, he's pretty much the most popular in the game. He only went down because Horse and Set.
Right, exactly.
That's Horse and Set. He's still the number one god outside of Horse and Set. So that's great for him. We're glad that this change is keeping him in a good spot, right on the line, but we want to make sure we keep looking forward to him towards the future. So I tagged this one as successful. He was fun. Possibly one of our most popular gods ever created. Community asked for him forever. We had to do a whole lot of crazy stuff behind the scenes to make it work.
Yeah.
I still have to apologize to the rigging team regularly because of how many times we had to rescale him during development to get him to feel right. It was really huge achievement by the whole team. So we're really proud of all the Titan Forge team for making this god a reality. And now he's really fun and pretty balanced.
Yeah, every time we would come over to the other building for some meetings, normally Clumsy's very happy and like, hey guys, what's going on? Every week during Yorm development, he was like, hey guys, I'm dying on the inside, by the way.
Hey, but now we're happy.
It was fine. It
was not an easy process, but it really paid off.
And Pon was the same way because I was when the dual release of Horus and Set was starting to ramp up.
That was a rough time, I guess.
Yeah, you guys.
The whole Titan team's been busy for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
But we've been making some amazing gods, and I'm very happy with
no
our
doubt
team,
about
so.
it. No doubt about
Jorm
it.
is really fun. Jorm is looking good. But he still might get a little nerf coming up.
Just a little baby nerf.
We got him. We're keeping an eye on him.
All right, Izanami. She got a buff last patch.
Izanami.
Buffed the passive, buffed the slow, buffed her leap animation times. That's her 3. And that was one of the changes where I was like really excited to talk to some pro players and be like, hey, how does Iza feel? You know, what's the difference there? And everyone was like, yeah, she feels a lot better. And that's kind of the last I heard of her. I don't know.
Yeah, we were surprised too. We noticed that the initial feedback was like, whoa, that's a lot. Yeah. That's really good. We were glad we could make the goddess just feel better. That's really important from balance. We don't want to ever change your core feeling of a god, but if we can improve the quality of life and just general gameplay feel, that's great.
Yep.
So that was the main goal here. But we were a little concerned about overbuff or people complaining. But once it lived, it was actually pretty quiet.
Pon and I were looking at the Izanami buffs, and there was a lot of different places we could touch. And Izanami was interesting because we always use Izanami internally as like she is one of the fastest, clearest hunters in the game.
Right.
That's almost without a doubt.
She's like
with
the
her
baseline
singles.
tester for that.
Yeah. And the main complaint that a lot of people had, was that her fade away, her leap away, was probably a little bit slow, and that's kind of a bounce mechanism. And we went internal testing. We could make that ability super busted where it's almost instant, and we had to be careful to make sure if we went that far, she'd probably be the #1 most pick. And
it was a goal during Izanami development to have a stealth that felt fair to fight against, and so we didn't want to push it too far where we lost that goal. And I think it still feels fair. You still have that telegraph, but it just feels better.
It feels
better.
For sure.
The directional hint is really what to me makes Izanami fun because you feel like you have a chance to kind of poke her out of stealth when that happens.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if we look at the stats, it's pretty good.
And now we can see, her win rates went up big time. From 48
to
place to
21.
21st. That's
and
plus
high
20,
elo.
Plus 27. That's pretty big. That's puts her in the top 20 almost of all gods. This should be a hunter you are considering. And for some reason, people still aren't considering it. I don't exactly get it, you know.
Yeah,
she's
she's
a little
seen her
bit-
in the SPL. I think maybe once or
I
so.
don't think we've
Maybe
seen
not
her at
even
all.
then, or the
Yeah.
SPL
And
either.
even in your ranked matches, this is, I mean, we know how important early pressure can be. Izanami is the god of early duo lane pressure.
Seriously.
We were really surprised. So as we get over here to the popularity numbers, we didn't see much change.
I mean, plus 11.
That's all right.
It
That's
moves
all
the
right.
needle a little
Yeah,
bit, right?
I guess so. Still
it's
kind of
not-
in the middle. Like, we thought this would be a new, like, top meta hunter.
It's not too far off the kind of like just normal randomization you get from patch to patch.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a standard deviation
Sure.
could be in this range. So this is not a real clear indicator. So if you like Izanami,
Load up.
you should start playing her a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you're a little frustrated with the current hunter options and you're kind of sick of getting boxed into picking a X-Ball every single time, you can pick Izanami and you will do pretty well.
I remember
it
when
seems.
we were play testing these changes, and I remember that we made the ulti change as well many patches ago.
Yeah.
Like, maybe her ulti's still slow, and I looked up like, no, wait, we sped that up. It's still really good. So maybe
Yeah.
some people forget all the buffs that we've made for her quality of life. Her ulti's actually really good too. It's pretty fast, and now she is pretty fast.
And it's funny because, as Pon said, we play against her a lot because we use her as a test for if you can outclear Izanami, we've done something wrong
Yeah.
on this new god or this new balance, whatever. If you're outclearing Izanami, that is it.
Yeah.
So we play against her all the time, and she feels really strong. So we tag this as successful. People were pretty happy with it all around, but it doesn't seem so much that people are complaining or upset or frustrated. So that's good. That's kind of a plus minus of the popularity staying about the same. If it skyrockets too far, then we might have gone too far in the balance. So
Sure.
it's not the worst thing to only see a small change, but we expected a little more still.
Yeah.
But,
This is your reward for watching the Dev Insight show. You get to know that you should be playing
I
Izanami
mean,
more.
Yeah, we
But-
straight up tell you what's OP and what's not. That's
she's
here.
good.
Yeah, we do
Player.
that here. That's part
Speaking
the
of
fun.
hunters who got buffed last patch, Ho Yi is next up on the list. We removed the self root while deploying his ultimate. This is one that I was super excited about because
Yeah.
as a Zeus player, I know what it did for that character when we removed the root. And
It feels good.
to me, it has felt much more potent both playing as and playing against. It took a little bit of getting used to, though. I mean, it feels weird almost to be able to move around while you're doing it.
This
at
is
first.
something I'm kind of picky on, and I really want to make sure that the art team gets represented properly in the balance meetings. Some animations make sense for this, some do not.
Sure.
This is not something that's an easy design rule to apply to all gods that, like, we don't want to self-root you, whatever.
Right.
It needs to fit the theming of the god and the ability. And for this ability, Hu Yi, he leaps into the air and is kind of floating, and his feet are off the ground, and he's fully moving, and it felt to me like moving around, sliding, floating is fine.
Sure.
It's also something he does just by leaping.
Yeah,
as
right,
Hu Yi.
exactly.
He already kind of has that hovery feel, so this to me felt acceptable. This is not something we would consider on everyone.
Yeah.
Just because you have a self-root doesn't mean Agnes is going to get removed.
Right.
Doesn't feel like that one makes as much sense at all.
Yeah, it'd be,
I mean, we've
like
talked
if,
about it. I won't lie. We've talked about it.
it'd be like if King Arthur could slide around after he does the big overhead smash and his legs are rooted still. Like, there's a
man.
reason he self-roots on a lot of those animations because it doesn't make sense otherwise.
So then Hu Yi, to evaluate as far as perception for reality, he's really interesting because this god has been statistically overrated for his entire life.
Yeah.
I will tell you this now, you are not as good at Hu Yi as you think you are.
No,
Whoever you
all
are.
of you.
So he was 97th before this change. One of the worst gods in the game.
Yeah.
Even when Hu Yi was like super meta and super OP, like
He
previous
wasn't that
seasons,
far off.
I believe the highest win rate he's like ever reached is like 42 or something like that. 42nd place out of the gods. He never
Right.
gets that high. He's very high variance.
Right.
And that's part of his excitement. That's part of his fun. And we are aware of that as a design team, that if Hu Yi is in top 10, he's
There's a
probably
problem.
crazy broken.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's never been there, so luckily we're not that bad at our jobs, but we're pretty good at our jobs. So we keep him close to the bottom, but he made a nice bump. He feels a lot better. We're not really hearing too many complaints about him. And then when we go over to the popularity stats, we see a very nice bump here. So overall, I think this is a super successful change. We got his win rate up a little bit, but not too far.
It's really surprising. With there's a small quality of life. I think we never really talked about this as a massive balance change. It's really a quality of life for his ultimate. We got the massive.
It was as we say, a quality of life buff.
Yeah, sure.
You
Exactly.
can't call this pure quality of
No,
life. This was
absolutely.
a quality of
But I
life
mean,
buff.
those are
It's a
some nice
buff
changes.
with the intention of making the character feel better to play.
Definitely
However, they
succeeded
will
in
be
that.
more powerful as well.
Yes.
As we define that internally and externally. But yeah, so nice bump up. Seem
Yeah.
more popular than Izanami. Even though his
Well,
win
it's
rate
Hoagie.
is
Everyone loves
2 to
playing that
3
character.
times worse than Izanami, but he's more popular because people want to make those hot ricochets.
That's right. You got to be ricocheting.
If you only get one a match, you still feel like a baller, and that's okay.
That's
and that's
right.
part of the fun of Huyi.
I will say, I locked in Hou Yi to test it for the first time after this change, and I went up against a Scotty, and the first time I ulted was on her permafrost, and I like zoomed across, and I was like, oh my god, what did we do? Like I didn't realize I was getting permafrosted at the same
Were
time.
you immune, or did it make you slide?
No, I slid.
Okay, he's
Yeah,
not
that makes
CC immune, right?
No,
yeah,
no,
so
no.
he slides.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
It was worried
permafrost.
for a second.
You permafrost while
I was like moving one way, then permafrosted the other, and I was like, oh my god.
that might
what is
fail my
happening?
theming check because you're flying, but you sliding.
Yes, Scotty nerf.
No, I already gave
I did
up.
it.
I already gave up on that idea a long time ago. Scotty's ice does affect flying characters. Yes.
Unlucky for
So
us.
this was a successful change, like I said.
Yes.
Good quality of life, didn't overbuff, nice popularity bump. That's all the main things we want to see when we do a balance change, so that's great.
Perfect. All right, Ganesh was the next god on the list. We increased the power buff duration on his 1, added magical procs to his 2, and increased the dash damage. So 1, 2, and 3 all got buffed for Ganesh, and very little discussion.
And that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if you're in a more support-oriented Discord out there, maybe you saw a lot more. But we felt it was pretty quiet from the community.
Yeah.
So
Though I
people
will
were
say,
wanting it,
we've
but-
seen a lot more Ganesh as of late in the Pro League.
Yeah.
Or these two, maybe it just happened to coincide that way, but when you get buffs on your first, second, and third ability, I
And-
imagine it's not a coincidence.
And quite recently before that, we buffed his ultimate as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So this is one of the interesting things. We were actually, so we said it was quiet, but we were actually expecting a little negativity. Because Ganesh is one of those gods I believe the community generally describes as balanced.
Yeah.
Even when the god is not doing very well, this god is well balanced, they do a good group, the types of things they can do are fair and telegraphed, and I understand them. So normally when we buff those gods, people are like, why are you breaking them? But
It's like when buffing Agni or something.
yeah, but the key thing here is Agni is another one that gets
That's a big
commonly
one.
described like this. So the thing is, though, as we get to the stats, you'll see that Ganesha was hurt.
Yes.
Ganesh was a little low, down in 66th place. I was a bit rough, a little lower than he has been, and even lower depending on which way you slice it in some other game modes and stuff like that, especially. So we wanted to buff him. We wanted to give him a few of the things that people have been asking for. So like a common confusion aspect was doing the Ohm and only getting physical protections.
Right.
A lot of people that didn't really make sense to them.
that was a common request.
It was
Yeah.
something we thought was interesting at the time of the design. Like let's make a ability that silences mages but protects you against hunters. Like that's kind of cool. But nothing about the ability's presentation really makes him feel like
It's only
it
physical.
should only be
procs.
physical. He's
Right.
actually sending out waves of magical energy, and he's meditating. So yeah, we like to have those types of changes help things make more sense.
Sure.
And to meet main community demands.
Okay.
So we saw a nice win rate change. We didn't see much popularity change. So I guess kind of along the theme of not that many people discussing it, it seems like not
Right.
that many people have
Yeah.
tried him out yet. So,
I feel like you have to be a pretty specific type of support player to really like Ganesh.
Well,
That's-
it's
you know,
it's
that's
my
true.
go-to.
Yeah,
Like
is
when
it?
I'm playing, when I get
Really?
the support role, it's my go-to because like even in its worst case, I drop a zone control ult,
Yeah.
I ohm at someone, and I make their day really sad, and I've contributed.
And you can't
That's
last
true.
hit minions or gods for yourself, right?
I
Yeah, and
guess-
I can't last it. Like I have the selfish jungler need to last hit, and I will definitely steal kills as a Sylvanas if you give me Sylvanas.
true.
So I just play
Right.
Ganesh, and that's removed from me.
That makes sense. And-
Removing
and
obstacles.
being an assassin, you love being able to cast your spells, and you know what it's like to get silenced for 3
Yeah.
seconds or so. So you know that it feels.
And I was like a Bacchus Ares main myself.
Yeah.
Don't dip into that side of the support pool as much. But overall, we just described this change as successful. Similar story to other gods in this patch, and it was a pretty good patch, I think, overall. We have a lot of buffs that didn't overdo it, buffs that didn't result in a lot of crazy ban rate or over popularity or over win rate. Arthur is approaching a point that we think is pretty healthy, so all in
Yep.
all, seems like a pretty strong patch. Looking forward to getting the data for you next Insight Show on the patch that goes live today.
That's
I know
right.
it's a little confusing to keep track of multiple patches in a row, but this is the only way we can really do it to make sure we get the most accurate look at the data. It's very important to get a big sample size, or you will notice that things are very weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things day one stats are very strange.
Always, yeah.
Always.
You'll see a lot of weird stuff there.
Play Ganesh, play Izanami if you haven't tried them out yet. They're a lot better than you think. Arthur is approaching towards the lower end, so if you don't really know what you're doing with Arthur, don't push your teammates into playing him, or
Right.
don't decide to just pick him up for the first time in a ranked match because you're probably going to have a bad time.
Yes, yeah. In the 90s in the win rate.
We will
there
keep
for
our
Arthur.
eyes on core meta nerfs going for next patch, as we always do, as well as plenty of other surprises.
Perfect.
Yeah, some cool stuff.
Again, if you're just joining us here before we kick it over to Hindu and Michaela for some community notes, this is what we've done in the past. That's what the whole Dev Insight show is for here. We will be looking forward to some more meta nerfs once we see how they've adjusted with the patch that just went live today. So guys, thank you for joining us here
Thank
on
you.
the Dev
Thank
Insight
you.
show. As I mentioned, it's time for some community news, and we've got Hindu and Michaela over on the desk.
And what a great pair to put on the desk together. It's going to be me joining by Michaela today. Michaela is a superstar, remember? She recently did an amazing video of her weather reporting.
Yes.
What was the weather report about?
It was about, there was raining gems everywhere, and it's a gem sale that's going on. So the gem sale is going to be going on till June 4th. You'll be getting up to 35% off gems, so make sure you take advantage of that. So it'll be till next Tuesday.
I was only trying to make fun of the video.
Oh.
And that was actually one of the things we had to talk about was that gem sale.
Yeah.
Job done.
2 birds, 1 stone.
What else we got going on this weekend?
So we're going to be having a 2 times favor worshippers and XP weekend. So if you were busy at MomoCon this past weekend and you didn't get the 3 times worshippers, you are still in luck. We'll have 2 times going on this weekend.
Do you have to be partied or anything, or is it just
No.
play?
No,
and
just play.
double time.
Just play the
Okay,
game.
cool. I might actually master some of the gods that I've not enjoyed playing. There's a few
There's
that I've...
none that you don't enjoy. Don't even lie.
Oh, there is. There's loads. Nike, number 1.
Oh,
number
I was
1.
going to ask. And you just...
Number 1. I've always said it. So that's the gems and favor worshippers and XP this weekend. 2 times for you all at home. So play this weekend, and the gem sale's still going on. But not only that, you've got something even more interesting to tell me about.
And this is something I've been putting together for quite a while, working with a lot of teams. So I'm super excited to be talking to y'all about. We're going to be having a cutesy avatar submission. So the way it works is
You just send art in? What does that mean?
I'm sorry. Oh,
A cutesy
I'm
avatar
trying to
submission.
get there. Are you ready?
I thought you were a professional by now. I mean, you've been on
Anyway,
TV
so
and with...
the way it works is we know that there's a lot of people that have cutesy avatar chests that they have like 10 or 12 extras. So we thought, what a better way to get people who make all their fan art and stuff to be able to put that in the game, have rewards for people. And so, yes, it is going live right now. And the way it'll work is you can go to smitegame.com/avatar submission, and you'll get all the details there. We also have a blog post if you want to read about it on smitegame.com/news. It'll be the first article that you see there. But
So the idea is people can send in their submissions of chibis
cutesies.
or cuties,
Yeah,
and they may get put in the game into that chest.
correct.
Oh,
Yeah. So you can submit any of your art that you like, and we'll go through, we'll choose the ones that we like the most or we think fit that chest the most. And then as a reward, we'll give you an in-game title, Artist, so that you can show off that you're in the game. And then along with that, we'll give you 10 codes of the avatar that you created so your whole squad can kind of represent.
that's cool. So they're actually going to be able to get the skin that if they make the skin, they'll get it, and
Avatar.
they'll also... They technically make the skin too, though, right?
Avatar.
Oh, it's an avatar.
Yes, it's the cutesy avatar chest.
I thought it was a skin, and I got so confused.
No, it's an avatar.
I was like, that's amazing, but I'm like, that's so much work. How is that even happening? Avatars.
Avatar.
Cool. So what avatar do I want?
Well, you need to make it, and then you can submit it, and then we will
I
decide if we
don't
like
make
it.
things. I just talk stupid things and get paid. I don't
That's
do
true.
anything more than that. Avatar chess program. Then, if you want to have your avatar in game of one of the cutesy gods, go ahead and create it and send it in. And you can find out all that information where?
SmiteGame.com/avatar submission, or you can go to SmiteGame.com/news, and there's a whole article about it. It's the first article on the top.
And now we move on to the community spotlight, I believe, which is. Wait, they've given me this section to talk about artwork and like people's
Yes.
submissions. Are they crazy?
Maybe.
I think
Are
so
you the
too.
wrong person for the job?
I think
can
so.
take over
What do
from
you guys at
Here we
home
go.
think? You do it. You do it. I'll watch. I'll be your assistant. Okay. I'll chair two for you. Go.
So the first one that we have for our community fan art is going to be this adorable little Chibi Merlin. It is created by Azanmaru. And I really love the colors that are going on with this. You can see like the different colors in his eyes from the mystics that are around his hands. It's reflecting.
Just the wrong stance for me.
Why?
He's an arcane stance. It's one of the weaker forms. You want the frost stance for the damage and the fire stance for the
But this
jungle
is
clear.
art.
Okay, I'm giving my opinion. No, I think it's amazing. though. It's really good.
It's really cute. So this is the kind of stuff that could be put into like the cutesy avatar chest, just so you know, like
That's
you know,
cool.
cutesy little stuff. And then next up, we have Discordia, who is drawn out by Lexi Arv. And this I really love. I love the color blocking. It almost looks like it's like a collage of like paper
Yeah.
cuttings and stuff put together. Very unique art style, very beautiful. I love how the gold still pops. What do you think?
She's definitely got that cunning, evil-esque look on her face. That's what I see.
She's gonna come get you.
She's got that sort of, I may be friendly, or I may be mean.
Yeah, she's gonna come kill you probably.
Yeah. Apple's a little small though, needs to be a bit bigger, hits multiple targets. Too small to do that there. Very, very bad for balance.
It was an artistic interpretation.
Still bad for balance, you know? Like, the community can say that, so I'm going to say it too. Let's not, what else you got? I like this section. This is great. Let's keep going.
All right, we've got one more left for you today.
One.
Just one. So this is Heavy Hitter Anubis. And this is done by VI Kotoru. And I love this one too. This one is a little bit, I think I found this one a couple months ago, so it's been out for a while.
Yeah.
But this is one of my favorite skins for Anubis, so I was really happy to see this come together and people putting their fan art together. He's got his little selfie stick. It's adorable.
It really is. I like that one. It's also off the Eno one originally, then into a skin, and now into this. It's really good.
Yes.
I'm not going to say bad things about this, other than I hate Anubis now because I know he uses a selfie stick.
Oh, you don't use a selfie stick?
No!
How do you take
That's
selfies?
what cameramen are for, right, cameramen? See, that's all I do. I just take screenshots of me on camera. They always look stupid, but they work.
Maybe if you used a selfie stick, it would be better.
Who needs a selfie stick when you work at Hi-Rez Studios? People meet me all the time. It's not a hard job. I don't need to do anything about it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for
I'm
having
sure
me.
we'll see more of these in the future.
Of course, of course.
Unless I get fired. We'll find out. With that, though, it's time to call it a day with the update show this week. Straight after this, we've got the Esports Weekly. Thank you so much for tuning us. Stay tuned. Esports Weekly's up in a minute.